Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
We are live from LA. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend celebrating with family friends. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys.
Hey, Skip, did they have fireworks in Kauai Town? What about Georgetown? They ain't been no fireworks though? Y'all ain't celebrating that?
It was rocking last night.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know.
Now I know where LeBron is. He's up in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Who knew? I didn't know what happened to LeBron James.
Y'all don't celebrate? They don't celebrate the 4th of Georgetown and Kauai Town?
No, they don't. But guess what? Before the season started, I would have bet you 500 million cases of Diet Mountain Dew that Milwaukee and Phoenix would not meet in the finals, and I would have been wrong.
Yeah, Skip, you remember there was a time, man, I'm tired of Cleveland and the Warriors playing in the finals. I'm tired of that. Okay.
Now I'm weirdly fascinated by this. Here we go.
That's a really good point. Maybe we didn't predict this months ago, but right now, guys, the finals are set between the Suns and the Bucks after Milwaukee closed out its series with Atlanta on Saturday. Giannis remains day-to-day for the Bucks, while the Suns have had an extra 3 days of rest to prepare for their Eastern Conference opponent. According to Fox Bet Sportsbook, the Suns are slight favorites in the series. So, Shannon, how much of a shot do you give the Bucks if they don't have Giannis?
I give him a shot. Skip, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Skip, I think if even whomever comes out of the East, I believe the Suns would be the favorite. And so with or without Giannis, I always thought the Suns was going to be the favorite in the matchups. Obviously, it becomes a more daunting task if you don't have the best player, a two-time league MVP. Yeah, it would become an uphill climb. But I would give them a chance because Middleton, we saw what he's capable of doing, Skip. Now, he's extremely streaky. Now, we saw another 23-point third quarter, Skip. Remember the other night we saw a 20-point fourth quarter. So we know he can get it going. We see True Holiday starting to pick up his scoring. And that's the thing. When a player like a Giannis goes out, someone is going to have to get those shots. So you're going to have to divvy up the 20 shots that Giannis, 25 shots Giannis normally gets. Someone else gets to divvy those up.
Yep.
Also, it forces Budenholzer. Now, Skip, I'm not saying that he's not a great X and O guy because I believe he is, obviously. But I think he's terrible at adjustments. Giannis being out forced him to play Bobby Portis because he was unwilling, for whatever reason, to play Portis.
Yep.
Portis is a 6'10" guy. He can score the basketball. He can rebound. He shoots okay threes. I still believe they shoot far too many threes. But, Skip, the task becomes even more difficult if you don't have a Giannis. If you have Giannis, I believe it's a coin flip. I would favor Suns slightly. But if you don't have Giannis, say what, he misses a game, misses 2 games, you could find yourself in the 0-2 hole. Now, do you believe the Milwaukee Bucks have the wherewithal to be down 0-2 and to beat a Phoenix team? I do not. And I know everybody, well, they beat the Nets. Yeah. With a hobble James Harden and no Kyrie, the final 5 games.
Yep.
So I don't believe that's possible, but they need to get Giannis back as soon as possible. But I would give them a chance, although it would be a very slim chance to beat the Suns without Giannis.
So here is what I would find fascinating. I just have a sneaking suspicion that the Bucks are going to win one of these 2 Phoenix games without Giannis. Wow. And if they do, if they steal one, as they say around NBA circles, and they go home and Giannis says, you know what, I got to suck it up, I got to tough it out, I got to go, then the weight of the NBA world would be on Giannis to show that he makes them X factor better.
Right.
So that they could win the 2 games
right.
at home. Because if they go home with Giannis, and I don't know, look, it's so hard to talk about this. I don't know how hobbled he is because they're not saying what it is. They didn't say strain. They didn't say sprain. They didn't say bruise. They didn't say anything.
Right.
It was a hyperextension, so it bent backwards.
Buckle back.
Did it? Usually when that happens, you have high probability of tearing a little bit of your cartilage. Is there a small tear in the cartilage? We don't know any of that.
Correct.
And they won't divulge any of that except to say he's day-to-day.
Aren't we all?
Okay, yeah, aren't we all? So I'm going to guess, for the purpose of this debate,
okay,
that he will not play in game 1. I don't know about game 2, but it seems like game 1 is coming too quickly for him to be ready for game 1.
So is game 2 on Thursday?
I think so. Okay. I mean, I didn't even look about this, but I assume they're going to go every other day, and then there might be a break until Sunday or whatever.
Right.
I need to look at this. But the point is that if they do steal one of these games, it's going to make you wonder what I brought up on Friday's show. Are they playing better, more efficient, offensive basketball without Giannis? I know look, in a vacuum, it's preposterous to say they're better off without Giannis. And I'm the first to tell you, no, they're not in a vacuum.
Right.
I'm just eye testing what I just saw in back-to-back games, 5 and 6, against Atlanta, at Milwaukee, and then at Atlanta.
Right.
And I think it was really hard to win that game 6 at Atlanta because you know how crazy that crowd was and how it was just on the edge of their seats, at least to force it back to a game 7 at Milwaukee. So what my eye test is telling me is they have 3 guys who have made all-star teams, and all of a sudden they felt empowered, emboldened to star.
Right.
And it started with Brook Lopez, especially in game 5. But in game 6, Brook Lopez was quietly a force because he had 3 more blocks. And look at your box score. Look at the plus minus of Brook Lopez. You ever see anything like this?
Almost doubled everybody that touched
He
the
almost
court.
doubled the whole team with a plus 25. And obviously the only Hawk with a plus was Cam Reddish, who came in and just lit it up. And I love Cam Reddish, and I wish he'd been able to play a little more, a little sooner in that series. But the point is, Brook Lopez says the point differential was doing dramatic work. You know, he was having a quiet impact on that game. And we know what he did when he made 14 of 18 shots in the game 5, which was the turning point game at Milwaukee. So to me, Brook Lopez is cleared to go down low and wreak havoc down low because he's bigger than Giannis. He's at least an inch, maybe 2 inches taller than Giannis, and he's thick. He's a man.
Weighs about 40 pounds.
At least by 40, maybe 50 or 60 pounds. He's just a big man. So it gives you a more of a lane presence than Giannis can create. You know, obviously, we've seen Giannis flame out in series after playoff series because they, quote-unquote, build a wall, and there's nowhere for him to go except to shoot little mid-range jump shots, and he doesn't really have that shot. Or to drift out and shoot three-point shots.
Which they gladly accept.
Through the playoffs, he's 18% from the three-point line. Okay? And if you foul him and put him on the line, it's getting worse and worse with the chanting, and I'm sure the Phoenix Suns fans will just pick right up if Giannis plays at Phoenix. And, you know, 1, 2, 3, and quick count him, and it screws him up a little bit, and he's liable to shoot a couple of free throw air balls, which is liable to take the air and the steam and the heart out of his own team, because it's just hard to watch your MVP shooting air balls either from the free throw line or the three-point line.
Well, Skip, we talked about this is because Brook Lopez can't occupy the space that Giannis occupies. See, Brook Lopez can hang out around the three-point line and occasionally get hot from 3. Giannis can't hang out.
It's rare to get hot. He's okay. But
Giannis can't hang out there.
He cannot hang out there.
So we can't have 2 7-footers occupying the same space.
Okay. And now this brings me to Chris Middleton. Something is going on with this guy. And I had a weird incident happen on Saturday night. I'm watching Saturday early evening here. But Ernestine walks in and out of the room. I was actually in the living room watching instead of back in my little cubby hole that she makes me watch.
Oh, because you didn't have no vested interest in this one.
I didn't have a rooting interest. So this was okay. There's no jinx factor because I don't really care who wins. In fact, I was rooting for the Hawks because I kind of wanted to see a Game 7. But it wasn't like I was screaming and yelling for the Hawks. So she wanders in at the start of the third quarter, sits down, and says, you know what? Just out of the blue, she says, I really like Chris Middleton. And I'm like, you what? You like Chris Middleton? Why? She said, I don't know. He just seems like a good guy. Well, I'll buy that. But she never talked. She loves the NBA, but she never talked about Chris Middleton. Because to me, he's pretty boring as a quote-unquote star. He doesn't have any rough edge to him. He's not much in post-game interviews. I don't know that much about his background, except he played at Texas A&M, is from South Carolina. But I don't know anymore. Like, I can't focus and latch on to him or get my arm around Chris Middleton.
Skip, when you talk about Chris Middleton, you think about handles. You think about a guy that can elevate like Zion. You think about a guy that can shoot like KD or shoot threes like Steph Curry. No, he
has made 2 All-Star teams.
He'd have been perfect for your Spurs.
And he would have been, but he plays perfectly in Giannis's shadow as the second star. So all of a sudden, she says that, and we're sitting there, and he comes down on the very next possession, makes the three.
Right.
Okay, and then there's a miss by the Hawks, and he comes right down, and he makes another three.
Right.
And you know what was proceeding to happen?
Yes.
I said, you're incredible. You're like an oracle. You're a psychic. Because he proceeds, as you pointed out, to score 23 in the third quarter, and it's a blowout. They blew him off the floor. And I know the Hawks made a great run because they went from 22 down to 6 down in the fourth quarter. But the hole got dug so deeply by Chris Middleton in the third quarter that it made me sit back and say, wait a second, something's going on here. Because I saw him in Game 6 and going back to Game 3 also in Atlanta go berserk.
Go 20
and that
in
was
the fourth.
20 in the fourth. Okay, what have we heard about Chris Middleton going into, certainly through the Brooklyn series, is that he has been pathetic away from home.
Correct.
So I looked at last night. So in 9 road games through these playoffs, he shot 31% from 3 on the road. They're 5-4 on the road, 31%. At home, where they're 7-1, excuse me, through the playoffs, he shot 38% from 3. So
you can live with that.
It's a huge difference. Except the 31 has started to come up because of 2 quarters where he's gone berserk from 3 in 2 quarters.
Right.
And he looked like a star.
Right.
He looked like something was happening here where you saw him emerge where he wasn't afraid of no State Farm Arena. All of a sudden, he looked like it was his home away from home.
But, Skip, I think the biggest thing is that he doesn't have to defer when Giannis isn't there.
Okay, I got it.
I get it. I'm number 2, Skip. And so no matter what I do, if Giannis is on the court, Skip, I still got to give him the ball. Even though I still got to give it to him.
Well, didn't he look like a pretty good number 1?
Yes.
And didn't Drew Holiday suddenly look like the all-star that he has been? I know he only made 1, but still, he has star quality about him. And now I'm starting to look at the numbers. No Giannis.
Right.
Well, he's a different player because on Saturday night, he goes 27, 9, and 9. So he's real close to a triple-double, a big triple-double. And then I look back at Game 5 at home, and he went 25, 6, and 13 assists. Well, he's emerging as a force.
Right.
As a force. Middleton and Holiday, right before your very eyes, have turned into forces without Giannis.
But you're asking an awful lot of Holiday because you're saying, okay, guard one of their better offensive weapons. It was Kyrie, and then maybe it's James Harden, and then we throw you on KD, but we still need to give you those points. But Skip, remember now, those 20 to 25 shots that Giannis normally gets, they got to go somewhere. So now Middleton gets 5 or 6 of those.
Okay.
Now Holiday gets 5 or 6 of those. Bobby Portis is in the ball game. He gets 7 or 8 of those. Skip, even P.J. Tucker got 10 shots. When the last time you saw P.J. Tucker take 10 shots?
Okay. In every game, very sneakily on the box score, I look and P.J. will have 8, 9, 10 rebounds.
Yes.
At what do we call? I don't think he's more than like 6'4", 6'5", maybe. He doesn't look 6'5" to me, but he is a wide body. He is stout. He is a bulldog. He will play his tail off.
Does.
And he'll get you. He'll scratch and claw and get you 8, 9, 10 rebounds.
It's a 6-point ball game, Skip. They miss. Okay, we get the rebound. We can cut it to 4. Here come P.J. Tucker out the crowd with the ball.
He did. And it was
he come out the crowd with the ball.
He did, and that's what he does.
Right.
And you mentioned Bobby Portis. He looks like he belongs in the starting lineup because he's 6'10", 250 pounds.
Right.
So on Saturday night, he got 9 more rebounds. Well, it's hard to beat this when, like, Lopez has never rebounded to his size to me.
Correct.
But he is a rim protector at the highest. In 2020, the 2020 season, he made second team all defense and was second in the league in block shots. Well, trust me on this. Brook Lopez will make life fairly difficult for DeAndre Ayton.
Yes.
But more difficult than Zubats was able to.
You think so?
Or the Clippers, because the Clippers finally tried to guard him small. But listen, Brook Lopez is long. He is long, strong, and savvy. He's been doing this for a long time. He will cause him some problems.
I tell you what he will do that Zubats couldn't do is that he will force him to come out of that paint. because Brook Lopez can shoot the three.
Well,
and you got to respect him, Skip. Even though he might not shoot 40%, you still got to respect him out there. So now if we drag Ayton away from the basket, does Middleton now have a better opportunity? Does Holiday have a better opportunity? If and when Giannis comes back, you know Giannis is trying to get to the rim.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a little bit more difficult if Ayton is standing up under there and you're trying to get to the rim.
Okay. So don't underestimate how good defensively they are without Giannis. And I got it. Giannis can just jump out of the gym at whatever, do we call him 6'11", maybe?
Yes.
And he's long and springy. But so Brook Lopez can hold his own rim protector.
Right.
And then when we talk about defending, listen, Chris Middleton can defend like crazy.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good on-ball point.
They're a good defensive team, Skip. You go P.J. Tucker, just think about their starting lineup normally would be. It would be Giannis, Holiday, Middleton, Tucker. Skip, you got 4 defenders right there. And Lopez, who's been an all-defensive player. So you got all 5 of your starters can guard.
Okay, so all of a sudden, it's not like you lose on defense all that much without Giannis.
No.
You're still high quality.
Right.
And I don't know, I wouldn't call Portis a great defender, but he's just a physical presence. Right. He will assert his... He's 6'10",
he's long.
He is long. And then Connaughton comes off the bench, and Teague had like out of nowhere, had a nice run late in the game. We know what he's been doing. And then Bryn Forbes can shoot threes.
Right.
So I do like their team enough without Giannis that now the pressure is all on the home team to me, because these guys are just free shooting it now.
Right.
Well, nobody's going to expect them. What are they? I think they're 5.5-point underdogs for game 1 tomorrow night. Well, I do like their chances to win one of these games, because we saw what they did on the road at Atlanta.
Right.
And I'm not saying Atlanta is as good as Phoenix, because it's not.
Right.
And obviously, Trae was hurt. We're going to talk about Trae in just a couple of minutes here. But the point is, I do think they're united enough as a team. The ball moves better without Giannis.
It does.
That they're going to cause different problems for Phoenix enough. They're going to win one of these games at Phoenix.
Let me tell you why I don't trust Milwaukee. Is the very thing that allowed the Hawks to get back in this ball game when they were down 20-22, because they come down and jack up a bunch of threes.
Yeah.
The ball game, Skip, that ball game was well in hand. And then here come Holiday, jacks up 3 threes in a row.
Yeah.
And then you get Middleton jacking up a couple of threes.
He went 0 for 4 in the fourth quarter. He also made his free throws.
Right.
Did he make 6 free throws out of 6 in the fourth quarter? So that sort of kept him at bay.
And you know the three-point shot, Skip, will allow you to get back in ball games, because we've seen teams have 20-point leads and all of a sudden lose the ball game. We saw the Sixers lose a 26-point lead, an 18-point lead. So we've seen big leads blown. Utah had a big lead on the Clippers, and the three-point shot gets you back into the ball game. So you start jacking up threes. You allow the opposing team to get back into the ball game. So that's why I don't really trust Milwaukee, because I've watched them on several occasions dominate the paint, get 65, 68 points in the paint, and somehow still manage to shoot 36 threes. I'm like, how? Why would you want to do that?
Analytics.
Okay.
No, seriously, that's just how they built the team, and so they say that's what we do, and I think they're encouraged to do that. And if they go cold, they go south.
I like the analytics of the Suns.
Yeah.
Chris Paul says, you know what, I can shoot the three, but if I can get to this mid-range, I'm fine. Devin Booker says, you know what, I mean, they got a handful of guys. Obviously, a Crowder hangs out around the three-point line, Mikal Bridges. But Skip, if you got a 20-point lead and I can take 2 dribbles and instead of having a 22-foot three, have a 14-foot 2, why not?
I hear you, which brings us to a guy who doesn't shoot many threes, Chris Paul. I'm going to say this one more time. The more I sleep on it, the more I think about it. What he did in Game 6 at Staples was just extraordinary.
It was crazy.
It was so improbable, because that's not who he is.
Right.
That's not what you would expect from him. It's not what he does. He made 7 of 8 threes. It's impossible. So if you think back to his playoff run, he busts up his shoulder against the Lakers, and it looked like he couldn't even dribble with his right hand.
Right, he couldn't.
Then he gets COVID. I have no idea if it took anything out of him at all. They said he didn't have any symptoms, so maybe not. But then...
it looked like it took something out over the first couple of games.
The first couple of games. Well, even on just fitness level, whatever. But then, weirdly, now he's saying he tore some ligaments in his shooting hand. I don't know where, how, when, but that's what he said. And if Chris Paul says he has torn, I believe him.
Right.
And he says he's managing it. The rest, the time off has been great for him. But think about how unlikely it was for him to go off in Game 6 that way at Staples. Remember, once they cut it down to, what did they get it to? 7. They got it to 7 with maybe a couple of minutes left in the third. He scores 27 points the rest of the way, late third through the fourth.
I think he went on a personal 8-0 run to get it back to 15 and make Ty Lue call another timeout. Skip, I think the thing is, though, I believe Holiday and Middleton will need to be more efficient than what they were in the Atlanta series.
Sure.
I don't believe you can shoot 10 of 25 or shoot, 9 of 24 and beat the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. But I do think they're equipped to defend Chris and Book.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm anxious to see the matchup. Do they take Holiday and put him on Booker, or do they take Holiday and put him on Chris Paul and leave Middleton on Booker?
I would think Holiday on Chris. That's what, because he's the smaller, shiftier
player. Put Middleton on Book?
Yeah.
So what do you do with Tuck?
I don't know. You just have to mix and match, but he may be able to take some turns on Devin Booker.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like that.
Right, I'm looking for the game within the game.
That's what I'm saying. So in the end, I believe they're going to take one of these games, and you don't think they're going to take one of these games.
Skip, Brook Lopez is going to have to be on his best behavior because DeAndre Ayton is playing out of his mind.
Yes, I agree. Brook Lopez has been here and done all this. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's 33 years of age, and he's made an all-star team.
That's a giraffe, Skip. That's a gazelle. He's running. I mean, he is running the floor. He's getting offensive rebounds. So, you said Brook Lopez is not the greatest rebounder at his size.
No.
He's going to need to be. He's going to need to be Shaq on the boards.
Well, here we go.
No mercy.
Well, over the weekend, LeBron was seen coaching up his son Bronny while playing in a high school showcase. The event was held at LeBron's high school, St. Vincent, St. Mary, where the gym is now named after LeBron. And during one of the games, the arena announcer hinted that Bronny got a favorable foul call only because of his name. LeBron took offense to the statement and confronted the announcer mid-game. So, Shannon, was this out of bounds for LeBron to confront the announcer during the game? What'd you make of it?
No, because the announcer's job is to provide a commentary of the game, not an editorialization of what he thinks transpired. The only reason he said that because he said that Bronny got a call because of his dad. Well, you said what the hell you said only because of his dad. Because I'm sure there are other guys. I wonder how many times the Barry brothers had to go through that. Oh, you only got that call because your dad was, Rick Barry. You don't do, come on, Skip.
The Barry son.
Yeah, the Barry son. Skip, you don't do that. Nobody said, Grant Hill only got that because his dad was Calvin Hill. His dad was an NFL player. You don't do that. That's a kid. LeBron James Jr. understands that name is a blessing and a curse.
I'd say.
A blessing and a curse, Skip, because he gets an opportunity to go to the best trainers. He gets the best nutrition. He gets the best of everything. But the moment they LeBron James Jr., everybody's like, okay. So now he thinks he's about to get this. He's about to get that. That's one of the reasons I didn't give my son, make him a junior. Because I wanted him, Skip, to be able to, whatever it is, I wanted him to be able to do it and to feel like he accomplished something on his own. And not because of his dad, who his dad was. And for this announcer to take a little pot shot, just talk about what you're seeing. I don't get it. It's just someone's always trying to take a shot at LeBron, even though LeBron is, he's very involved with his son, with his kids. And I think that has a lot to do, Skip, because his dad wasn't there in his life. And he says, I'm never going to be what my dad was, which is absent. So he goes out of his way. And yeah, he's animated. I love it. I love the fact that he's involved in Bronny's life. He's going to be involved in Bryce's life. He's going to be involved in Zurich. He's going to be right there with his cheerleading or whatever it is that she does. He's going to be right there just as animated. But I thought it was a cheap shot on the announcer to frame it like this. He could have said, you know what? It seemed like there was a lot of favorable calls going on and left it at that. We've heard him say that, Skip. When Michael played, that seemed like that's a home cooking call. But to take it to where he took it, I don't agree with that. And LeBron, I believe, was well within his right to step in and say, bro, that was unnecessary.
So you were good with him stopping the game to go confront the guy?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start by framing this with what it was. This was an exhibition AAU basketball game being played back in LeBron's stomping grounds, where it all started in the gym at St. Vincent St. Mary's in Akron.
The gym that Bron built.
He made it famous. He made it famous. He put it on the international map. And the team that Bronny plays for is called Strive for Greatness, which is obviously LeBron's motto.
Yes.
So LeBron is the driving force behind this team.
Correct.
So LeBron obviously wants to be front and center for all of Bronny's games. It's different with every dad. Every dad takes a different path. And when it comes to parenting, you should do, it's none of my business or your business or anybody else's. You choose whatever you think is right.
Skip.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of times my son didn't even know I was there.
I just watched my Vanderbilt team in the College World Series, and they had two famous young pitchers, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. And obviously, Kumar's father was a great SEC football player at Auburn. He's now a coach for the Eagles. And he just sat quietly next to his wife and I think tried to just contain his emotions, you know, but up in the stands, kind of up back portion of the stands.
Correct.
And then Al Leiter was obviously a very famous pitcher for the Mets and some others. But the point was, Al just tried to sit with his family and keep score and keep a lid on his emotions. LeBron's going to be front and center because that's his personality. Plus, it's back in his stomping grounds. So the point on the announcer was, I got the feeling, and I wasn't there, but I got the feeling it was that Rucker Park vibe where he was trying to add a little flavor to the game with his commentary as a PA announcer. You know how it goes at Rucker Park, because they're going to really spice it up, right? And I do think he went completely over the edge to suggest that Bronny got a call because LeBron was in the house or that he's LeBron Jr. And yet, I do think LeBron crossed the line to stop the game and go confront the guy. That could have been done after the game to me because it was not fair. I agree with you. It's not fair to the kid. You can argue it's fair enough to LeBron because he's a grown man, a professional, you know, with the face of the NBA. And yet I would have hoped LeBron would have just given it one of these at the guy, you know, just scoffed at it or rolled his eyes or shook his head or whatever instead of stopping the game to walk down the road to confront him during the game. Was he justified in doing it? Yeah, he was justified. I just don't know if that's the right time and place to do that. Okay, now let's go bigger picture. Again, I agree with your take about it's great that LeBron is there. We've talked a lot about LeVar Ball on the show. It's great. It does my heart good to see how actively involved he is in every one of his sons' lives. And on a personal note, I wish I had LeBron as my father or LeVar as my father because when my father was around, which wasn't much, he was abusive. And the thought of my father ever coming to any of my football, basketball, or baseball games was
didn't cross your mind.
I never expected him to be there. In fact, I didn't want him to be there. But I was the oldest, and I wish I'd had the guidance of a LeBron or a LeVar who did know what they were talking about. And LeBron's doing great things for Bronny, but after a while in the game Saturday, I started wondering, well, was this more for the father or for the son? Because it was a homecoming, and I'm sure LeBron's heart was just exploding with old memories of what he did in that building to the point where he couldn't contain himself. He had to get on the floor at halftime and show Bronny some moves, you know?
Skip, that's how my brother was. When I would come, I'm 3 years younger, so he was off in college, and he would come back. We played a basketball game. He would come down and say, "Well, I think this is what you need to do. This is how they're playing you. This is what you need to do." We run track meet, Skip. He would come out the stands, and or he was like, "Okay, on the triple jump, you need to either come forward or you need to move back." And I'm sure, and obviously he was not the known player that LeBron James is.
But for those who don't know, Sterling was a great football player, and he would be right along with you in the Hall of Fame. He would have beaten you to the Hall of Fame if he hadn't gotten hurt with a disc injury.
In his neck. So for me, Skip, to have him there, that was something that none of my teammates had, or very few other. No, I don't think anybody else that was in high school at the time had a brother that was in college that could tell me things that would help me win a meet or win an event. So for me and for LeBron James to have, Skip, I mean, think about that. You got arguably the greatest player in your house that can tell you what you're doing right and wrong to help you get better.
Absolutely.
Where else can I get? People pay to go to people like LeBron to get that information. I ain't got to do nothing. I can just go knock on the door. Hey, Dad, what do you think about this?
Okay, did it bother you at all that Sterling would come down and sort of upstage the game for a second to show you to do, or the track meet or whatever it was?
No, I would look for him because he would tell me he was coming, and it was a blessing and a curse, Skip, because I'm looking the first quarter, he hadn't arrived yet. I'm looking for him. Okay, I need to know. Okay, then at the track meet, he would surprise me sometimes, and I could hear him. Okay, this is what you need to do.
Okay.
So it did me good, and I'm sure it does Bronny good. But Skip, this is it. This is the blessing and the curse that LeBron James Jr. is going to have to for the rest of his life. That's it. Can you imagine? It's with any great. Skip, Magic, whether it's Magic, Kareem, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
King Griffey, I had King Griffey Jr. on my podcast,
Yep.
Skip, and he said his dad, he could never perform when his dad was there. So his dad would pull up in the Winnebago. The Winnebago just parked down there. He cranked one over the fence. His dad would out. It's about time you did something and go back into Winnebago.
And why couldn't he perform with his father there?
Because he has too much
expectations.
Yes,
I gotta live
his dad's a major leaguer.
Yeah.
I want to do good. I want to do good. His mom, his dad wouldn't even go and say, "I'm just go." He told his wife, "Said I'm not going to go to the game. You just tell me what to do." So what did he do? Well, he had 3 homers and a double. He's like, "Why the hell you can't do that when I'm there?" He would just put so much pressure on himself. And so, can you imagine what it's like, Skip? To play in front, I mean, all the kids get excited. Man, LeBron at my game. I'm in the same house as this guy every single night. Drake come to my game. This guy comes to my game. It's different. It's different.
I would say, as you said, it's hard enough to carry the namesake.
Yes.
He is LeBron Jr.
Yes.
And will always be
Yes.
LeBron Jr.
Yes.
And I hope I read this right, because I looked it up before the show, but on October 6th, he turned 17. Does Bronny, he feels like he's forever 14
Right.
to me. Like I was thinking he was 14 the other day.
Right.
But he's 16.
Right.
And he's going on 17.
Right.
So these are prime time months for him as he grows toward whatever he's going to become as a basketball player. And he's improved. He had that one tomahawk dunk, and he had a really sweet up and under. He had a big three, but he had a real sweet from the left side and up and under with his right hand up off the glass.
Skip, he tried to he goes by Bronny James, but you ain't fooling nobody. Everybody know what Bronny's short for.
Yep. And then the irony was it comes down to a last shot, and LeBron's right there on the baseline in the corner.
Right.
And I admired the kid for having the guts, because his father's saying, get a bucket, because they needed, well, it was to win the game, because it went to overtime.
Right.
And Bronny comes right to LeBron.
Right.
He bolts right to the corner and gets the inbounds and goes straight up and shoots it, and left it just a little short.
Right.
On the, I guess it would have been a 3
It would have been
to win the game, right?
Yeah, it was a 3.
Yeah. And they lost by 4 in overtime. So what a day, but LeBron, it's his personality. He's going to be front and center. He's going to be right in the middle of all of it.
And I just, people just makes it personal. They would have never said that about any other kid. I get it. It's in where LeBron played at, and it's his son. But don't do the kid like that. Because you're making it seem like the kid can't play, and the only reason he's really out there and is because of his dad. The kid can play.
Yeah, he can. I'm going to be fascinated to see how far he can go with what he is. Right. But so far, I haven't seen LeBron, but who can ever live up? Like, it's just so rare.
You're not going to... The likelihood of you having a transcendent father and the son also be transcendent isn't good. King Griffey Sr. was a good major leaguer.
He was just good.
He wasn't.
Bobby was really good.
But he wasn't Barry.
No, but he was an all-star caliber player.
But Barry is like ungodly. He was out of this world. And so that's what
Barry Bonds was the greatest baseball player I have ever seen.
Yeah. So when you look at these great players, Skipper, you look at these great players, basketball, football. Archie Manning was a very good football player.
He was.
He wasn't Peyton.
Nope, he was not. He got stuck on a terrible New Orleans team.
What about Tom Brady's son? Think about what he's going to... Skip, the man's won 7. He might win more. So that's what you're up against. How did he be better than that?
But it was okay for Tom Jr. because Tom Sr. wasn't I don't know what his background was. Nobody cared about him.
So now.
Right,
so,
but now.
Yes. Tom's son have to live up to dad. Not granddad, dad.
Dad.
That's a whole different ball game.
Oh, yeah, that is true. And the only person I think about in all this scenario is Bronny. Is Bronny okay? I know Bronny's been living with this his whole life, but as long as Bronny is okay and wasn't embarrassed by it, wasn't uncomfortable by what LeBron did, that's the only thing that I worry about. But yes, we know how much LeBron loves his family, loves his kids, loves to be dad and coach. So it's only going to continue from now, guys. Trae Young gave it a go, Game 6, to keep the Hawks season alive, but finished the game with just 14 points on 4 of 17 shooting, and he was 0 of 6 from deep. After the season-ending loss, Trae said, quote, "It's definitely frustrating not being healthy and not being able to give my full 100%. Totally agree. For it to end that way, Shannon, does he deserve a pass for his bad shooting in Game 6 because of the injury?
No, I commend him, Skip, for getting out there. He probably took an injection in that foot just so he could get out there and probably move around. But he wasn't the Trae that we're used to seeing. He had some, burst, but not nearly what we had become accustomed to in these playoffs. But no, he doesn't get a pass. It happens. I mean, you went out there, you gave it all you could, and it didn't work out. I thought they let the game that really got away from was Game 5, because I felt that was the game they could have stole, Skip, because they did not come out with the intensity in Game 5 that they came out in Game 4, and they let Milwaukee get out to this big lead. Even though they clawed a lot of it back, it was just too much to overcome. I felt that was the game that they let get away. But no, great players don't get a pass. We didn't give Isaiah a pass, even though, Skip, we saw that tennis ball in Isaiah's ankle. But we didn't give him a pass. He's like, hey, we got to get better.
You mean that grapefruit?
It was huge. You got to see it. In the Bad Boy Pistons when they did the 30 for 30, which is great, how big his ankle was. And he's like, hey, I didn't get it done. But he came back the next year and he got it done. So this is a young ball club. But, Skip, you never know what's going to transpire. But I don't believe in giving guys passes. If you're injured, you're out there, give it your all. And if it doesn't go your way, you lost the ball game. But you don't get... Not in pro sports, Skip. It's not good. You don't get participation awards. It's about, because you play at the highest level, it's about wins and losses. And so for me, I'm not giving him a pass, but I thought he did a commendable, a great job. And I think we're going to talk about him later, giving him a grade throughout the entirety of the playoffs. But nah, he doesn't get a pass from me, Skip.
What do you always tell me? If you're out there, you're good to go.
Good to go.
And to his credit, and I tweeted about this as the game started, good for you. You sucked it up and you got out there. I don't know if he took an injection. He well might have.
Right.
I never could quite figure out how you step back on the referee's foot, which was bizarre to start with, because he made a step back and the ref's feet are out of bounds and he steps wrong on the ref's right foot with his right foot. And it goes sideways, and I thought it was his ankle, and then they're calling it a bruise. Well, I don't know. Did he hit the ankle bone on the floor and bruise it? I have no idea. Now we're back to what's going on in a man's head. What's his pain threshold versus everybody else's pain threshold? Well, there were sequences in the game when he looked fairly okay to me. There were sometimes he would drive it and seem like he did have a little push off and a little bit of lift. Because he'd get loose and score a bucket the way he normally does. But then you get to the fourth quarter, and Cam Reddish sparked a run that was out of the world, man. I mean, they were down 22 early in the fourth, and they cut it all the way down to 6 on a Capella dunk from Cam Reddish. And Cam seemed to be the spark plug of it. But then the rest of the way down the stretch, Trae went 0 for 3. So I thought if he could have come up hot from 3, he might have been the driving force to get them over the top back to a Game 7 in Milwaukee. He had a horrible shooting night all told. So he's 4 of 17 from the field and 0 of 6 from 3. Well, obviously, it was a minor miracle that they cut it to 6 with their best player, even though hobbled, shooting the ball that poorly. It's shockingly poorly, although he's prone to have games like that. Every few games, he'll just go completely haywire.
The guys that you expected to shoot the ball from 3 were Herter, Bogdanovich, and Trae Young were 3 of 17.
Yep.
That's not good enough. Well, like you say, Skip, what if they're 6 of 17 or 7 of 17? Well, we might be having a different discussion because, like you said, Cam Reddish came in and started letting it go.
He did.
And for him to play as well as he did, to miss the amount of time that he missed, Atlanta's future is bright. And plus, Hunter didn't play, Skip. But I just thought the thing is, they didn't really defend. I mean, come on, y'all can defend better than that. Lou didn't give him a whole lot on Saturday.
He's good for a game a week, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Because he was that game 4 with Trae. We started for Trae. He played unbelievable, but he didn't give him much on Saturday.
Okay. So here's my issue with Trae Young. Once again, most of these teams live and die with the three-point shot.
Yes.
It's just the way of the world in the NBA right now. So for his playoff run, 16 games, he shoots 31%. Well, it's just not good enough.
Right.
It will hurt you more than it will help you if you keep jacking him up and you shoot 31. You got problems with Milwaukee.
Yes.
I have problems with him shooting that many threes and making only 31%. So I look all told at his playoff run, and I say, wait a second. You missed 209 shots through 16 games. That's just from the floor. 209 shots. That ties, guess who? Pandemic P of the Clippers for the most misses in all the playoffs. Except here's the difference. As we know, playoff P played the most minutes by far. He played 776 minutes to only 603 for Trae, because Trae obviously missed some games. It was 19 games to 16 games.
And plus, they only went 5 games. Think about it, he went 7, and another 6. And he went 5. Trae went 5 the first game, then he went 7, and then he missed 2 games.
So the point was, he tied Paul George for misses, total misses in the playoffs at 209, but obviously he played 3 fewer games. Well, that's no good.
No.
So should we call him Pandemic Trae? No, because he hasn't qualified for that yet. But the numbers do.
He didn't shoot the ball well. Skip, I think he has to shoot the 3, because if you don't shoot the 3, because it's not like he's 5'11". And I got to have a way to get to the basket. And the only way that I'm going to be able to get to the basket is that if I make you think I'm going to let this 3 go and you hug up on me. So now I can get around you. So that's a part of why he does it. Now, is he ever going to shoot the percentage? The likelihood of him shooting the percentage of Steph, probably not very good.
I mean, Steph's 42%.
Right. But Skip, if he can just get that to like 35, 36, that would be more than enough.
It would be if you could do that.
Because if you look at what he's averaging per game, shooting 31%, he gets to 35, 36, he's going to be averaging 30, 31 points a game.
So I hear some people compare him to Steph Curry, and he's not in the stratosphere with Steph from 3. He'll make one from the logo every once in a while, and it's great for the highlight shows because he'll play big on the highlight shows. Can you believe this little man's range? Well, he shot 31%.
I believe he's asked to do more than Steph. Draymond runs the offense. Steph gets to run off screens. That's Draymond. Draymond leads the team in assists. So you ask it, if you ask Trae to say, Trae, just run off screens, I'm not saying he's going to be Steph Curry, but he has to run the offense. Skip, think about it. He's getting you 8, 9 assists tonight. Sometimes what did he give you? 45 and 8, 35 and 18? So he can score, but he can also, be a high assist guy.
There are nights he is the whole offense. He creates it all by himself. With a lot of dribbling, a lot of screens, a lot of, I'm going to get in the lane whether you like it or not, and then either alley-oops or I'm going to get to the rim or I'm going to stop and shoot this floater. Well, the whole show seems to revolve around
his game was a lot. His and Luka games are basically very, very similar, Skip.
One guy's 6'7".
Exactly. One guy can, Trae Young ain't posting anybody up.
No. But he can do the Tony Parker, I'll beat you to the rim. I'll beat you to the glass.
He's good with either hand. He got the floater. And what we saw with Luka, he got his team to the Olympics.
Slovenia, way to go.
So,
boy, they were celebrating. That was a huge thing for
that was country. A huge thing. But I like what Trae did. He don't skip. They don't have it. The Hawks don't have anything to hold their head down because nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw this run. I don't even think the Hawks fans saw this run. Okay, maybe we beat the Knicks. Philly got past Philly and took Milwaukee 6 games, and Trae got hurt. So they got something like, you know what? We're gonna take a month off. We're gonna get back in the gym, guys. We can make another run at this thing. The key is gonna be, are they gonna keep John Collins? John Collins played himself into a big payday, Skip.
He did. He wasn't great in this game.
No, he wasn't.
But he was great in the run. I agree with you. And I remind everyone that team was 14-20 when Nate McMillan took over.
I just think the thing is, Skip, if you look at John Collins, he only took 6 shots.
Yep.
He was 6 of 9. No, you got to take more than that, bro. Herter can't take more shots than you. Capella took more shots than John Collins. Nah, I love Capella. I love the hustle. But you ain't got no business taking more shots than John Collins.
Agreed. But Trae Young takes a whole lot of shots.
Oh, yeah,
when he's cold, you're done.
Yeah, he's going to take a whole lot of shots.
Yep.
No mercy. Oh, how about this? Skip's Dallas Cowboys will be featured on Hard Knocks this offseason for the 3rd time in their franchise history. Dak Prescott will be returning from a broken ankle that derailed the Cowboys' 2020 season, where they ended up with a 6-10 record. So, Shannon, do you expect this year's Hard Knocks to do record ratings?
Hard Knocks always does ratings, Skip, because it's football. Footballs always do ratings.
Okay, but record ratings.
No. Skip, if you think about it, what makes records is interesting. Where's the personality? Tell me the guy that has personality. It's going to be about Jerry. It's going to be about Jerry and Steven. That's what it's always about. That's what Jerry cares about. Skip, I guarantee you, if I say, Jerry, I'll give you an opportunity. You could have a Lombardi or an extra comma. Which one do you think he's taking, Skip? That extra comma. That's what Jerry cares about. Don't let Jerry fool you. They're going to... When we were the first group to do Hard Knocks in 2001, coming up the Super Bowl, Ozzie and Brian basically stood back. They did their jobs. Ozzie and Brian would talk to the guys about, you didn't make it. You need to pick it up. Jerry's in everything. Man, the owner, Art Modell, was not talking about no player that was getting cut. Art didn't do that. So he wasn't going to do anything for the cameras to shine a light on him, to make it about him. It's about the players. And Jerry and Steven is not going to let it be about the players. And the personality. Okay, Zeke, Amari, Van Der Esch. I want to know the guy. You still ain't talking about. So who's the Nate Newton? Who's the Michael Irvin? Who's the Charles Haley or the Deion Sanders?
I got answers. I got them.
Oh, go ahead, D. Go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So, first of all, let's frame this by saying that league rules exempt teams from appearing on Hard Knocks if they have a first-year head coach. Well, now we have a second-year head coach in Mike McCarthy.
Right.
If they've reached the playoffs in either of the previous 2 seasons. Well, we have not, unfortunately.
So y'all's primed.
Or if the team has participated in the show in the previous 10 years. We have not.
Yeah, 2008 was the last one.
Okay. So we're check.
Yeah.
And it is bonanza for Hard Knocks. This will set record ratings for them because the one thing you're overlooking, this draft class, I think they talk better than they play. And I hope I'm wrong about that, but these are some big, bad
you're going to showcase them.
I don't know if Jerry has editorial control of the product.
Yeah, you do. Yes, absolutely.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, can you actually tell them there's not enough of me in this episode?
Yes.
Can you force them to put more of me in there?
Obviously, Skip, they're going to give the head coach and on the general manager, you have creative control what's going to actually get aired. If something you don't want to get aired.
I would think that's veto control. Like you can take that out.
Yes.
I don't know if you can make them put that in. I need more of me and my family.
No, it's not about putting more in, but of all the Cowboys, who's the most interesting one?
Okay, Michael Parsons might just light it up. He is a huge talker and a huge presence on a defense that was historically bad.
Right.
They gave up more points than any team in the history of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. Yes. And you love him.
I do.
And I think you will be on the edge of your seat to see what he has to say because I think he's going to take this show over. And then the second round kid, Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky, cornerback. Well, he's already had a rap career. It's been going on for like 4 years, and he's boss man fat. I don't know. You don't think that'll work on Hard Knocks? Come on, seriously. He might have a recording studio in his dorm room.
You know what? They might have him say, drop a line for us right quick. Let's see what you got.
Well, you know that's going to come up.
They just might do that.
And then Nashawn Wright, he said right after he got drafted, I'm better than Richard Sherman. You are? And he had to call and apologize to Richard Sherman. And speaking of Richard Sherman, I don't know if Jerry would consider this a bonus or a threat, but I still think there's a real good chance that they sign Richard Sherman. I could be dead wrong about that, but as much as I have had my personal difference with Richard, I would love to see him in that locker room as a player coach, so to speak.
I definitely think Sherm would add something to the hard knocks.
That's what I'm saying. Would he not take over an episode here or there?
Yes.
Right? I can just keep going down the list. This whole recruiting class, I was just astounded at how big their mouths were. But again, you got to back it up. I loved it because it's very entertaining.
Now, if they'd have had hard knocks when you were covering the Cowboys, now that was box office. With Michael and Nate Newton and Emmett and Time and Haley and all those antics. Well, I don't even know they could have aired half the stuff because there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you
How
can't
about when I first started covering? Too Tall, Harvey Martin, Roger Staubach, I can go.
But see, Skip, people think that the Cowboys are the 90s. But the Cowboys was always troubled. They always had issues. It was the Raiders got the credit for having the issues and running the file with the law. But you go back and look at the 70s Cowboys. They were just as bad, if not worse.
I wrote a book about it called God's Coach, and the greatest irony was Landry was viewed by much of the Bible Belt as God's coach.
Yes.
And God watched the team through the hole in the roof at Old Texas Stadium.
Yeah.
And yet they had more bad boys on that team than anybody had.
Yes.
They had more police blotter Cowboys than anybody, way beyond the Raiders. You can read I detailed all of the law breaking.
Whatever you think the worst somebody's done in the last 15 years in the NFL, they had some guys that did worse.
It was like real bad.
Yes.
They had some things that I can't even start to talk about on television.
Exactly.
Correct. So that team would have worked. The 70s would have worked. The 80s, but 90s, yes.
90s. Whew. Because they had personality. I mean, was there ever an offensive lineman that had more personality than Nate Newton?
Nope. In my second book that I wrote, he took over that book from me. And every time I got stuck on something while I was writing the book, I just picked up the phone and called Nate.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hold on just a second. Let me type that. You know, like he was extraordinary as a talker, and he was an insightful talker.
Right.
And he had the courage to say anything about anybody and tell the truth.
Right. And that's the thing, Skip. I think the thing is with Hard Knocks is that if you tell the stories about the players, what it's like. Because, Skip, people want to go inside. What's it really like in a training camp? What's it really like? You know, the meetings and the waking up and the soreness and, you know, the rookies singing and the guys, you know, we taping them to the goalpost and putting them in the cold tub. All of that is a part of it. So if you're going to make it about the players, why, Jerry? Skip, you got a radio show, you got a TV show. You know what, guys? I'm going to be involved in this as little as possible. Y'all ain't really got to feature me. Make it about the players. Okay, then you got something. But Jerry, you can't be the Suge Knight or the Hard Knocks.
That's true. Good point.
I mean, would actually be P. Diddy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's P. Diddy.
Okay, think of the plot lines. Can Dak live up to the biggest quarterback contract in the history of this league? I don't know. He hadn't over the last 17 games.
So.
I better hope so. Zeke's got a new running backs coach that's like an independent guy who's been working with him, putting out videos.
Right.
He's quicker and stronger and faster than ever. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, I better hope so. And then CeeDee Lamb, you know, there is a history in this league of sophomore receivers just splashing, just breaking out.
Yep.
I think he will. And will he light up Hard Knocks? Because he hasn't talked that much because he hasn't had a chance to talk that much. Well, maybe.
I don't really know a whole lot about his personality. Is he a talker, Skip?
He was pretty good the night of the draft, and then he kind of went radio silent because I think he felt like I got to earn this before I... Nah,
the only thing I remember him from the draft that he was sitting there with a girl and she tried to grab that phone.
And
he's like, nah, so I ain't gonna be able to let you do it. You ain't gonna be able to do that one. The mom was like, So that's what I remember from CD. But Skip, you need for these things to work, you need personalities. So I'm anxious to see the guy that steps to the forefront.
Who was your favorite pick before the draft? Michael Parsons.
Where are these bugs coming from in here?
I don't know. There are bugs in here, and I don't know. But they're only on your side. Who knew?
Yeah, I don't know what it is going on. Somebody can close the door or something.
Maybe it's the Mountain Dew.
Maybe your arguments are so bad that they're drawing flies.
These things special here. These special here.
Really?
But guess what, Skip? You know what I want them to do? Hard Knocks, because they only do training camp. I need them to chart you guys the rest of the year so they can see that failure. See when y'all miss the playoffs, when you go, hold it, 17 games now, when you go 8-9. That's what I need to see.
That just might win the East this year.
No, they ain't gonna win no East. No, the Giants gonna win. The Giants gonna win the East.
Oh, this is easy for Dallas.
Giants, Washington, Cowboys.
You're betting on the Giants quarterback?
Giants, Washington, Cowboys. You be third.
Really? Okay, I don't know how much we bet on first, but if you want to do it on third, I'll take third right now for 10 more cases.
I give you 5.
5 cases for
third place.
I think we have 5 on first.
Yep.
Okay, so they have to finish third place for me to lose 10 cases.
Yes.
Then, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. I just won 10 more cases.
No, you did. First of all, y'all not winning the division. So at worst case scenario, we'll split. We be even.
I got this.
I'm not winning no division, Skip.
What's that quarterback's name for the Giants? I forget that guy.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
What y'all gonna do with that?
You just bet on.
What y'all gonna do with that? What y'all gonna do with that defense?
You just bet on Daniel Jones.
What y'all gonna do with that defense?
Micah Parsons.
No, y'all can't score on their defense. Y'all can't score on their defense. And then Washington football team, you know that defense going, Fitzmagic. Fitzmagic good for one big game, and it's going to come against you. Did y'all play y'all on Thanksgiving? Who y'all play on Thanksgiving? Because y'all going to catch an L on that day, too.
I can't remember.
It's an L. Don't worry about it.
Yep. It's an easy win, though. I already looked. I think they're going to win 12 games.
You do realize, like, when people look at their schedule and they see the Cowboys, they say that's a win. You do realize, like you say, you look at it, that's an easy win. They're looking at other teams are looking at the schedule like, okay, win, Cowboys, yep, that's a win for us. Yeah, that's how they look at y'all.
Who's got the best quarterback in the East right now?
I'm not so sure y'all got the best coach in the East, though. Do y'all got it?
So you just admitted I got the best quarterback, and if you got the best quarterback, you're going to win the division.
You got the best quarterback.
Thank you.
Does he always play the best?
No.
In the biggest moments, has he played the best?
Nope.
Okay.
But he better live up to that deal, and he will.
Okay.
And Zeke might just shock you. He might go back to 2016 Zeke.
The likelihood of a man going back, come on, Skip.
Yeah, he's only like 22 years old.
I get all that, but he got like 28 years of, 28 years of wear and tear on his body. All them carries y'all gave him the first 3 years.
That is true. So I got this one. This is easy.
Oh, your defense. How your defense going to look?
Well, Dan Quinn's, he's actually going to play defense for us. Yeah.
Okay. Since you brought it up, Skip, it is the Raiders coming to town.
Oh, good. That's easy. That's a gimme.
Oh, that's it. That's a gimme.
I didn't bring it up. Shannon brought it up.
No. You said it's a gimme. I didn't say it was no gimme.
Yeah.
Y'all going to lose that game.
Always harder than you expect. We don't need to look ahead to Thanksgiving right now.
That's an L for sure.
The Raiders?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bet you 3 cases right now. I'll take Dallas at home against the Raiders.
Put right now?
Oh,
Will you do it?
As long as the quarterback's not injured, I got
Straight up.
Straight up.
Thank you.
I don't even want no points.
Thank you.
No mercy.
Chris Paul has racked up Hall of Fame numbers over the course of his 16-year career, on the way to 11 All-Star appearances and 10 All-NBA teams. CP3 now has a chance in his first finals appearance to add NBA champion to his career resume if the Suns are able to pull off the win. So, Shannon, is just getting to the finals enough for Chris Paul's legacy, or does he need to win it all?
No, it's not enough, Skip. He needs to win it all, because winning a title cements a player's already existing great legacy. It doesn't redefine it. It enhances it. And that's what it's going to take for me, because right now, Skip, I don't have Chris Paul, for whatever it's worth. I don't have him in my top 5 point guards. Magic, Isaiah, Steph Curry, Oscar, and J. Kidd. And I know people keep talking about J. Kidd. Skip, I don't think people realize just how good J. Kidd was, because he has the exact same resume. Unless Chris Paul is Chris Paul. He's a 10-time All-Star. He's a 5-time All-NBA first team. He's a 9-time All-Defensive guy, 4 times first team. He's a 5-time assist leader. So don't poo-poo J. Kidd, that I think he has the second most assists all time. So don't pretend like Jason Kidd was a bum, because he was far from it. And so if Chris Paul was to get that one of those, I believe he warrants being in the top 5. Now, he ain't catching Magic. He ain't catching Steph. So you can forget. I don't believe he can catch Isaiah, because Isaiah was special. I mean, you look at what he was going against to win titles when Magic, Bird, and Jordan were in the prime. Yeah. I'm going to give Isaiah a lot more credit than people give him credit for. So for me, Skip, I believe it would be the final brick in his mosaic that if he were to finish this off, 16 years, toiling, but it just goes to show you, can you imagine? You see what Chris Paul is with Devin Booker in year 16? Imagine what he would have been with Kobe Bryant in year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8. He would have more. This would not be his first time going to the finals had he had linked up with Kobe. So for me, Skip, he needs this. He needs to finish this off to cement his rightful place in basketball history. Getting there is not enough.
Okay. And let's do the hypothetical negative.
Yes.
What if, as a solid favorite in the finals, they lose to an undermanned Milwaukee that doesn't have Giannis?
Yeah. Giannis is not going to play at all?
No, I'm just saying, what if, I'm doing the hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
What if you lost to the Bucks without Giannis? What would that do to your legacy? It wouldn't be good.
No, it wouldn't be good. But he still would have an opportunity. It's not like Skip, this is his last go-round, so he'll get an opportunity. I mean, just like everybody's Skip. Everybody's not like a Bird or Magic or Jordan. Their first time getting their Skip, they win it. More times than not, or Tim Duncan, who goes 4 times before he even knows anything about a defeat, and then finds, and loses, and then comes back and wins it again. But he has as good a chance as any, Skip, and you never know. I don't know if he'll ever get a better opportunity because the West is loaded, and you can't count on guys being hurt. You can't count on the other side being hurt. The Nets are going to be back.
I agree.
They'll be improved.
This is Chris Paul's time to shine,
Yes.
to seize the opportunity to cement his legacy.
Right.
Now, I will tell you this. On Saturday, Ernestine and I saw our man, Lil Wayne, and so he and I started. I promised Ernestine I wouldn't talk sports, but I couldn't help but talk some about Chris because Wayne and Chris are really close from their early days back in 06 in New Orleans when they were both, Wayne was just taken off, and Chris came as a rookie to New Orleans Hornets at that point. So it was Wayne's opinion, and he's been talking to Chris every day, that Chris is really good with this. Like, this was all he ever wanted, was to break through and get to the finals, and that no matter what happens after this, he's good to go. Like, he's completely, not that he doesn't want to win it, but that the breakthrough he achieved with the game of his life, and that was the game of
that was the best game he's ever played.
Ever played. Yeah. It just came out of nowhere when I least expected it, but there it was.
And we thought the Denver game was special. Remember, Skip, he had 37 in that closeout game.
He did.
And we said that was special.
But they weren't threatened at that point.
Right, they were already up 3-0.
Yeah, and this one, I thought, silly me, I thought the Clippers would win it, and I thought they were about to go on a roll late, and when they cut it to 7. And then here came Chris Paul. I've never seen anything like it before because it's not like he's been known as an explosive scorer in his career. But he was that night at age 36. And it was on sheer will. And now I find out that he did it with some torn ligament in his shooting wrist.
That man beat y'all with one hand?
Well,
that man beat a Clipper with one hand.
Did the ball go through? Yeah.
One hand, still had one hand. See, Skip, I believe guys say that, and we've heard a lot of guys say that. It's kind of like Skip with the awards. What do we hear? If I win, it's okay. I got nominated. No, you want to win. Stop that line.
No, I got it. But Wayne's point was that Chris is just ecstatic that he finally got to a finals, and that in his heart of hearts, he's good with this, even though he obviously wants to win the finals.
I tell you what, if he think he's good with it, let him lose to this team, and we'll see if he still feels that same way.
Especially let him lose to this. Now I got the flies on my side.
Yeah, go ahead. See, I told you.
Yeah, they're coming
that bogus argument.
They didn't like what I just said about Chris Paul because these flies are obviously Chris Paul fans. But I will remind everybody, and I'm going to draw flies for saying this, but remember, Chris's playoff legacy wasn't pretty.
No.
Going into Wednesday night, it wasn't that pretty. He blew a 3-1 lead with the Clippers. He'd blown 2 2-0 leads. If I go all the way back to that 08 year against the Spurs, my Spurs at that point in New Orleans, they were up 3-2 and lost game 6 and 7.
He had lost 2 of the 3 games that he had played in this series.
And he'd lost those. And they had won 2 games without him in this series.
Yes.
So it was like wrong. Right. And it's like one spectacular night of nights. I can't even get comfortable with what he did because I wake up in the morning and my first thought is, did I dream that?
He did that.
He did that.
He did. But Skip, I think the thing is, look, because a lot of time, just if you don't have a championship, it does not mean you're not a great player. You can be a great player But I think in order for you to be one of these historically great players, Skip, you get ranked according to titles. It's easy for us to well, who's the greatest two guard of all time? Well, it's Mike. He's 6-0. Okay, 2, Kobe. 3, D-Wade. It's easy because they have championship. Okay, Harden might be able to say, you know what about me? Well, Harden, we can't put you in the top 3 when you ain't got no rings. How you go in front of Jordan? How you go in front of Kobe? How you go in front of D-Wade?
Agreed.
Well, CP, how you go in front of guys that got multiple championships, got MVPs, if you don't have no rings and they have them?
Got to have at least one.
You got to have at least one.
And you know what? I'll say this for Chris Paul. He deserves to have one ring, but he's got to earn it.
Right.
It's not going to be given to him.
No.
And you didn't want to see him at age 39 go along from the ride as a backup point guard for a team that wins a ring.
Right.
This is his time to be the driving force of a Phoenix team that couldn't get over the hump without him.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So here we go.
So what did it enhance? It doesn't. Would a win enhance it more than a loss would do detriment to it?
It's just a given he needs to win.
Yes,
but
I agree.
The loss, especially if Giannis doesn't play, would be cataclysmic.
He cannot lose if Giannis doesn't play. He cannot lose this. No, absolutely
not a pretty sight.
No.
No mercy. Listen up, guys. Twitter accounts tweeted out the 5-year anniversary of Kevin Durant deciding to join the Warriors over the weekend. Katie responded to one tweet saying, quote, "This bleep a holiday now?" And one fan tweeted, quote, "Katie still out here defending his Warriors move. Katie, give it up." To which Durant responded with, quote, "It's man's out here still offended. Let it go." Oh, KD, loving that social media life. Shannon, looking back on the decision 5 years ago, did KD make the right call?
Yes, because it made him a champion. It was the right choice for him. It was the right choice for his legacy, Skip, because he got 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs. Because it's shows like this and it's people like myself and others that have constantly said that if a player does not have a championship, his greatness is somehow diminished. Kevin Durant no longer wanted to hear that he's the greatest player that's never won a championship. He got the championships, and so now you criticize him for how he got them. You criticize him for not having them, and then you question the manner in which he got them. You can't have it both ways. But, Katie, you got to understand, when you are a transcendent player, dates are remembered. June 26, 2003. You know what that date is, Skip? That was the day LeBron James was drafted. July 10th. July 8th, I think, 2010. That was the decision. When Jordan, I'm back. Every year that comes around, when Magic Johnson made his announcement in November 7th of 1991, that's the company that you're in, KD. You are a transcendent player. So anything that you've done will, when you drop that 49-point triple-double, guess what? 10 years from now, in the playoff, they're going to say, on this day, Kevin Durant did that. KD, you got to take the good with the bad, bruh. You can't fight every battle, or you'll be at war with yourself for the rest of your life. You made a decision that was in the best interest of Kevin Durant. When you lay your head on your pillow at night, if you can sleep easy with that, because you can't appease everybody. Even if you had stayed in Oklahoma City, some people still weren't going to like you, KD. You made the right decision. You made the best decision for Kevin Durant. You are a champion. No one can take that away from you. Let them question how you became a champ. You are a champion. How you became that is unimportant.
Okay, so I hear everything you just said, but I'm going to go up several notches on this. It wasn't just a good move that Kevin Durant made, but now in hindsight, 5 years of hindsight, it was like all-time great.
Yeah.
Didn't come across that way in the very beginning. I liked it then, but I didn't love it.
Right.
But I knew for a fact he had decided, per a source very close to him, that he just couldn't win with Russell as his primary decision maker in Oklahoma City. They'd gone as far as they could go together.
Right.
And Kevin looked up and said, wait a second, I'm entering my 10th year in this league. And to your point, I'm ringless, man.
Right.
And I'm risking, if I recommit here, I'm risking going 3-4 more years without a ring. And all of a sudden I'm in year 14 and 15. And what am I going to do?
Right.
So he says, well, wait a second. This team is begging me to come there.
Right.
In fact, they're all flying all the way across country from the Bay Area to Long Island over the 4th of July to come all the way out to the tip of Long Island.
Yeah, in the Hamptons. Yeah. Interrupted that man's vacation.
Yeah, and it's far. It's far from even JFK or LaGuardia. It's like 2.5, 3 hours to drive out there.
Yes.
To all the length of Long Island.
Right.
To get to the Hamptons. To wine and dine him and try to convince him that he needs to come save them because they had just blown a 3-1 lead to your guys.
And that's how they phrased it.
Yeah.
KD, we need you to save us.
To save us. And you told me, I'm going to say it one more time, that Draymond fled into the parking lot that night after they lost Game 7 at home, and he was crying crocodile tears and calling KD saying, you've got to come save us.
Got it.
Okay? So he's saying, okay, I'm sure he considered that some people would say, what a weak move, what a lame move to join forces with those guys.
Right. Yeah.
And by the way, you guys had them down 3-1 in the conference finals, and you blew that, and you're going to join those guys? Yep, I'm going to do this.
I'm going to do it.
Watch this. And it got all the way to that finals, that first year with Golden State, and we went to those finals, as you recall, when we went to Cleveland for games 3 and 4. Obviously, they won the first 2 at home.
Right.
And I thought Kevin Durant had the weight of the NBA world on his shoulders, his very thin shoulders, because everybody was waiting for him to fall on his face in games 3 and 4.
Yes.
And what did he do in game 3? He just took it over. And he made the shot of shots down the stretch. I think we might even have that. Oh, here it is. Right on time. Boom. Clean swish. That was the 3 that turned the tide and put them ahead finally for good.
Yep, put him up by 1.
Yep. And he shot it right in LeBron's grill on a pull-up on a semi-break.
But you. I want you're responsible for this, Skip.
I did that.
Yeah, you did it. Because it was you that said somebody is somehow diminished if they don't have championships. So now guys are going to linking up. And getting these championships. And then now people want to criticize, oh, you went, no, whoa. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm less than because I don't have one. And then when I get one, says, oh, you didn't earn it. Yeah, you make it seem like he was riding the pine.
Yeah, but as time passes, 20 years from now, 30, 50 years from now, people look back, they don't remember the circumstances. No. Oh, he was back-to-back MVPs.
They had 3 minutes passed. Then it was, he got the championship.
Oh.
I mean, we'd have had one. I mean, ain't no telling. We'd have had 2 more, so that'll put LeBron at 6. That'll put LeBron at 6.
How do you figure you'd had 2 more?
Without KD and Golden State, they couldn't see us.
Oh.
Why you think they interrupted that man's vacation?
So that's why he did that.
Do you understand what a
stop Bron's run?
Do you understand what a private jet costs from California to the Hamptons? Do you know? The charter jet, you talk about 25, 30,000 an hour for 4, 5, 6 hours, and then interrupt that man's vacation.
I think those Golden State owners could afford that.
Yeah, they could have. Exactly. So, hey. KD made the right decision. But KD, stop trying to fight him, bro.
Okay, this is where I do love Kevin Durant. He drives me crazy, but you've got some of that in you because you'll fight back on the internet. You do.
Yeah, I do.
And you'll fight some nobody. You'll go back and forth with them, and which is dangerous to me because it's slippery slope. You can't win it. You're fighting with somebody you don't need to impress or convince.
Yeah, I just like busting them up sometimes.
Okay. All right, so, again, there are times when I sit back and say, I should fire back. Certainly there are other people out in the business who take shots at me, and I think, I should fire back. And then I say, no, who cares? I don't care what they say. I take my shots right here in this chair. You take yours. We go back and forth. We cross-examine each other, and this is where I take my shots.
But the thing with KD is that I think KD was like, once KD realized that people are already dug in, there are people that believe KD made the right decision, and they good with it right there. There are some people that believe KD made a weak sauce move, and they're never going to move from there. So once KD realized that everybody's already pledged their allegiances, and they're not moving, it's going to be good. I ain't got no problem with it.
But he's fueled by these little spats on the internet because he'll pick it with anybody. He'll go back and forth, and I'm like, you're Kevin bleeping Durant.
But people make it seem like he a bum. They make it seem like Skip all of a sudden, oh, he got with Golden State and then he became good. No. He was better than everybody they had on their team before he arrived.
That is true.
He was their best player on the team once he was there. It's
that is
okay.
Correct. That
KD
is correct.
he was, as he eloquently said, you know who he is. Kevin Durant.
Okay, but he is the thinnest skinned superstar
Yes.
I have ever closely observed, and it ain't going away.
It might bother him off the court. It damn sure don't bother him on the court because he be lighting people up on the court.
Well, he seems to thrive on it,
Well, then
like he needs it.
Well, they need to get some people that's on the court and probably try to get in his ear like these people on Twitter do, and maybe that can get him out of his game because it doesn't seem to anything affect him in the game.
No, he's better than ever.
Yeah, so nothing anybody say. But you know what, Skip? They scared. They don't want that. They don't want them problems because they, okay, you talking, okay, I'm gonna drop 50 on your head, and then what? So everybody just leave him alone. Don't nobody. They don't trash talk him. They don't make no justice of him if he falls down or slip.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody kid on the bench. You notice that, Skip?
Yeah. So now you're willing to concede he is the best player on the planet. Best player on the planet.
Skip, I defended KD and his right to go back at
You
people.
did.
And I'm saying, well, he has to understand that he's a transcendent player and he did something that was very unique. And so that's going to be there 20 years from now, KD. If you and I both around, they're going to say on this date, Kevin Durant decided to go to the Golden State Warriors.
Sure.
Take it as that should be an honor. That people think about something that you did that you weren't actually on the court.
Yeah.
But a decision that you made still has that impact.
Yeah. It will reverberate
Yes.
forever. Put LeBron right back in his place.
There you go. This ain't got nothing to do with LeBron.
Well, you said it did.
But you know LeBron's decision. You know what happened, Skip. July 8, 2010.
I liked his decision.
June 26, 2003. That was my birthday. That was my birthday. And you know what happened? Cleveland was forever changed.
I didn't know that day.
You did know
I think
that.
you're the only person on earth who knows that day.
You did know it. You did know it. You been trying to forget it.
No mercy.
Saturday, Aaron Judge and the Yankees take on Jose Altuve and the Astros, or rivals collide at Wrigley when the Cardinals face the Cubs, or the NL Central leading Brewers battle the Reds. Saturday, 7 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Check local listings for the game in your area. Well, we know this now. The finals are set between the Suns and Bucks after Milwaukee closed out its series with Atlanta on Saturday. Giannis, he remains day-to-day for the Bucks, while the Suns have had an extra 3 days of rest to prepare for their Eastern Conference opponent. According to Fox Bet Sportsbook, the Suns are slight favorites in the series. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joining us now. Chris, hope you had a great fourth. How much of a shot do you give the Bucks if they don't have Giannis here?
Very little, if any. I'm picking Phoenix either way, whether Giannis plays or not. I think what we'll see is Giannis at some point in the series, maybe game 3, something like that. But let's say if Giannis plays the entire way or even comes back for game 3 and is good the rest of the way, I give Phoenix about a 40% chance. If he doesn't play at all, I mean, I'm tempted to go 0, but I'm going to go 5% just because you can never say never. Now, clearly, I'm not overreacting to 2 games against an Atlanta team that was essentially playing without its best player. One game, obviously, Trae Young was out completely. The second game, he clearly wasn't able to be himself. So I'm not here to talk about, oh, Milwaukee is great without Giannis and they're fine. A lot of people are making a big deal about Drew Holiday. He's been unleashed. Charles Barkley even used the word unleashed. Well, Drew played great in the 2 games without Giannis. But Drew played great in games 1 and 2 as well with Giannis. He had 33 points, 10 assists in game 1, 22 and 7 in game 2. In those 2 games, he shot like 58, 59% from the field. My point is this. He can play that well with Giannis. Giannis does not hinder Drew Holiday. So what that tells us is we're going to get the same kind of inconsistent play from Drew Holiday. Yeah, his numbers overall will probably be better, especially points, just because he's got to score at this point. But I don't think he's going to be this consistent superstar without Giannis. Same thing for Chris Middleton. I think there's this feeling now that, he's going to be, 25 to 35 points every night now that Giannis is there. Did you see him in the last 2 games? Well, he's going to be the same roller coaster ride that he is. All right? He was great in those 2 games. But you look at the regular season, they played 11 games without Giannis. And Chris Middleton was up and down. He had a 6 for 27 game, 14 points against Dallas. He had a 4 for 16 game, 16 points against Sacramento, both without Giannis. So it's not like he's going to, just save the day because now Giannis isn't there. Brook Lopez, very good against Atlanta. Obviously wasn't dominant in game 6, but he was good. He's not going to be able to have his way with DeAndre Ayton the way he did with Clint Capella in Atlanta. Now, Capella's a great defender, but he's smaller. Like, Ayton is a legit 6'11", 7 feet. He's longer. He's a little bigger. He's more athletic than Capella or anybody Atlanta had. So Brook's going to have trouble there. Look, Giannis was great against Phoenix in the regular season. I know it's only 2 games, but he averaged 40. That's the most that he averaged against any team in the league that they played more than once. And the key, he got to the free throw line 15 and a half times a game against Phoenix. So they clearly had trouble with him. Somehow he shot 83% from the line in those games. We know he wouldn't do that in the finals, but still, that shows the trouble that Giannis presented for Phoenix. So, I'm not buying into, they're better without Giannis and they got a better shot of beating Phoenix. I'll up it to 5 to 10% without Giannis.
I agree with you. I think it'll be a great series, but it's hard for someone to win a series without their best player. Now, we saw the Clippers play very, very well without Kawhi. And I know if they'd had Kawhi, I believe they'd have beat the Suns. We saw them finish off Utah without Kawhi. So they didn't really need Kawhi, the Clippers did in that series. But you said something very interesting. You talk about True Holiday these last 2 games. I remember in them first 5 games against the Nets. And nobody talking about True Holiday being unleashed when he was shooting 6 for 25. Nobody mentioned that. We know what Chris Middleton is. We watched him last year in the bubble without Giannis go get 50, Chris. We watched him without Giannis. He go get 20 points in the 20 points in the 4th quarter against Atlanta and steal back home court. We watched him go get 23 points the other night in the 3rd quarter. So we know he has this in him. The difference between he and Giannis is that I trust him with the ball in his hands late in the ball game because he will take and make big shots. That overtime game against the Brooklyn Nets, it was him that really sealed it, Skip, taking that last shot. But without Giannis, somebody got to get those 22 to 25 shots. So you would like to think it's going to be divvied up between Holiday, between Middleton, Bobby Portis gets into the ball game. Brook Lopez take his 7'1", 300-pound butt down on the block and start hovering around like a drone on the 3-point line. He can add some value to that. Even P.J. Tucker got 10 shots in Giannis' absence. So somebody has to get those shots, and the point gets divvied up. Maybe Holiday gets an extra 3 to 4 points a game. Maybe Middleton gets another extra 6. So for me, can they win? I had Phoenix like you to win this series even with Giannis. I say it's a very minimal chance that without Giannis, they can beat the Suns in a best of 7. I just don't see it happening.
So I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
What is the history of Giannis through his playoff career in big moments, big stage, big games? What's his history?
Well, he's like a wet firecracker.
Thank you. Thank you. It's up in smoke, down in flames, one after another. What was his recent history? The last we saw of him, he's shooting 2 air balls from the free throw line and another air ball from the 3-point line. Takes the heart out of your team, takes the hope out of your team. It embarrasses everybody. It makes everybody uncomfortable with a superstar that you're trying to depend on, and you can't depend on him. You can't really trust him in the biggest moments. Is he sensationally talented? Obviously, he's won MVP. He's the PER prince of the league. We get that. in a vacuum, are they better without? Obviously, they're not better without Giannis. But what did your eye test tell you? Without him in the last 2 games, the ball moved.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, guys who have made all-star teams started playing like all-stars.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like maybe they're not unleashed, but they're empowered, they're emboldened to be themselves, to be the best they can be. And I got to tell you, something's going on with Chris Middleton because he had 2 breakouts away from Milwaukee, which he'd never done before. He's always been a disaster on the road and an all-star at home.
Skip, he was due. Did you see what them 2 stinkers that he laid at home to open the series?
There are very few men on this planet capable in a playoff game of scoring 20 points in a fourth quarter and 23 points as he did Saturday evening in the third quarter. It's such an explosion, and it doesn't look that sensational. He's not made for highlights. It's pretty orthodox, conventional, just jump shooting, and it just goes in. And as I told Shannon earlier in the show, he's just boring. You can't wrap your arm around him. There are no edges to him. He's not funny or entertaining in his post-game interviews. He just shoots conventional jump shots. And by the way, they go in. Lately, they've been going in like rain falling. And all of a sudden, I'm saying, wait a second. If he could have one of those games or even one of those quarters at Phoenix in games 1 or 2, are they capable of stealing one? Yes, they're capable of stealing one of those games because Holiday is suddenly playing like an all-star, and he's doing it on both ends of the floor.
Yes, well, you're going to have to.
Well, he is, and I assume he's going to take Chris Paul, and I assume Middleton and maybe Tuck will go back and forth on Booker some, but they can defend at a high level on the perimeter with 3 guys. Well, that'll match up with Phoenix, right? And I don't care what you say about Brook Lopez. You can say he's old and slow, but just a year ago, he made second team all defense. And just a year ago, he was second in the league in blocked shots. And just Saturday night, he blocked 3 more shots of Atlanta's. And if you look, he played 37 minutes, and he was a plus 25. They more than doubled anybody in plus minus on his own team. Well, it just shows you his impact was significant in the minutes that he did play on Saturday night.
Well, he's going to have to play that minute, and he's going to have to play like he did in Game 5 because DeAndre Ayton's going to be running.
Okay, I got it. But maybe DeAndre can outrun him from end to end. I don't doubt about that. But as far as just camping in the lane and dominating the paint against Brook Lopez, I don't think you can do it. He is 7'1", and he's long and strong, and he's thick, and he does weigh close to 300 pounds. So I think he will cause some problems for DeAndre Ayton that Big Zoo didn't cause in the last series, or the small ball lineup of the Clippers didn't cause.
But would you concede that Zoo is a better rebounder than Brook Lopez?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that gave them an advantage, is that when they kept the rebounding totals close, they were able to beat the Clippers.
Yeah, but look at the other guys rebounding on this team. They rebound like Bobby Portis can rebound like crazy. And listen, Holiday's been rebounding at the highest level. He almost had a triple-double the other night, 27, 9, and 9. And Tuck, he flies in. He's been around 10 rebounds every game. So they make up for whatever Brook doesn't do as a rebounder. Listen, Brook can rim protect like crazy.
Well, so, if I'm Chris, if I'm Phoenix, I'm giving Chris Paul a break on defense. I'm gonna let him guard PJ Tucker. I'm gonna let him guard Tucker. Tuck just gonna stand in the corner and shoot threes. So I'm gonna let Tucker. I'm gonna either let Chris Paul or Book guard him. Now Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges. Okay, y'all got Holiday and y'all got Middleton. Y'all need to shut them down.
Okay. So my takeaway from this is, if by chance Milwaukee steals game 1 or 2, and I think there's a real good chance, that's just me, of that happening. And then to Chris's point, if they go home and Giannis says, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. You want to talk about pressure on Giannis? Because if you lose a game at home with Giannis coming back, people are going to go berserk over that.
Well, especially if you won one without him and then you lose when he comes back. That's what people said about Chris Paul. Remember, Skip? They won 2 games with him, and then they come Skip, Chris, and they lose 2 or 3 with him. They win 2 without him and then lose.
Somebody on Undisputed was campaigning for to get more runs, to play more minutes. You got to get Chris Paul out of there.
Well, look, go ahead, Chris.
I don't think it's a route without Giannis. Like, I think Milwaukee did show that they can be a good team and they can be effective without him. Like, I think they could push Phoenix to 6 games, even if Giannis doesn't play. Like, I don't think this is just going to be a blowout and it's not going to be competitive and any of that. But if you look at the 3 best players on Phoenix versus the 3 best players on Milwaukee, I'm taking Phoenix, obviously, right? I mean, you're taking Chris Paul over Drew Holiday. I would take Devin Booker over Chris Middleton. I mean, some people might disagree about that, but I would take DeAndre Ayton over Brook Lopez as well. And Skip, the name is funny. When you were talking about Chris Middleton, the name that came to my mind was Alex English.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of boring.
Yeah, he is.
Not kind of, very boring. Just a jump shooter, but get you 25 points.
But let me ask you a question. You say with Brook Lopez, if Giannis is in the mix, Giannis, Holiday, Middleton, are you still taking the Suns 3 over the Bucks 3? Because it's a lot closer than I think people realize.
No, look, beginning of the year, or even certainly beginning of the year, but beginning of the playoffs, if you had said it's going to be Milwaukee and Phoenix, I was taking Milwaukee. I think most people would have taken Milwaukee. You know, but I just saw, I think they had some problems in the playoffs that I didn't foresee. And I think Phoenix is the better team right now. And then Giannis, look, I don't know, Shannon, if you ever had a hyperextended knee, but, you know, obviously that could limit him. That Euro step he loves to do, is he going to be able to do that? You know, with that hyperextended knee, will he be limited to kind of straight line? Right. We might not see Giannis he might be 60%, 70%. So I think that I'm going with Phoenix all the way. But, yeah, if Giannis can come back and play well, even if they split those first 2 games and he's back for game 3, you got to love it if you're Milwaukee. But I think Phoenix is the better team.
You'd love it for Milwaukee until you lose game 3 at home.
With Giannis?
Yeah.
Here, the thing about Giannis, and you're absolutely right about his play in the clutch, right? You can't count on him. We know that Middleton is their go-to guy. Yep. But there's 45 minutes before that, and he's great for those 45 minutes.
Yep.
And that keeps you in the game and can set it up for Middleton to do his thing at the end of the game.
I don't trust Milwaukee. They play dumb basketball. Think about it. They got up 45 threes. They got a decided advantage inside, and they still got up 45 threes. So if they get out to a lead, they'll let the Suns back in it by jacking up threes, and the Suns will surely get back into the ball game. I got the Suns in 6.
All right, good to know.
No mercy.
So over the weekend, LeBron was seen coaching up his son Bronny while playing in a high school showcase. The event was held at LeBron's high school, St. Vincent St. Mary, where the gym is now named after LeBron. And during one of the games, the arena announcer hinted that Bronny got a favorable foul call only because of his name. And LeBron, well, he took offense to the statement and confronted the announcer mid-game. Chris Broussard is still with us. Chris, your thoughts here? Was it out of bounds for LeBron to confront the announcer during the game?
I don't think so. I thought the announcer was the one out of line for bringing LeBron into the situation. LeBron knows how tough it is for his son. Yeah, I mean, to grow up as the son of LeBron James. Look, we're not crying any tears for Bronny. I mean, obviously you get great advantages and benefits from being LeBron James' son, and LeBron looks like he's a great dad. But we know the challenges it brings, too, especially when you play basketball. And so LeBron even said as much when he talked about, he regrets naming him LeBron Jr. because obviously that brings all types of things with it. But Bronny probably hears this from other kids, other opponents that you may go against. He doesn't need to hear it from an adult who's in authority. And that's what an announcer is. And so I think LeBron did the right thing. I probably would have done the same thing, to go and squash it right then and there. And some people might say, well, LeBron made a scene. LeBron just walking into the gym makes a scene. He's LeBron James, So there's the scene is unavoidable. He's sitting in the front row, which I got no problem with. But he's right there. He's LeBron James. So sitting in the front row. So he's going to make a scene. Everybody's going to be talking about him. And some might say, well, was Bronny embarrassed? Maybe. I get that. You know, your dad's coming out, sticking up for you. That could be embarrassing. But I think it was more embarrassing for the announcer to say, you got this call only because you're LeBron James' son. So I think LeBron did the right thing. And, he didn't get violent, obviously, nothing like that. He got some of his mother in him, Gloria James, who used to be very vocal at his high school games. But, yeah, I'm with LeBron on this one, man. You got to squash stuff like that.
Glo used to be vocal at LeBron's NBA game. Remember, she stepped to it when they fouled LeBron hard? And LeBron said, Mama, I got this, Mama. You can't.
At one point, he said, sit down. He's like, sit down, Mama.
Yeah,
you can't be doing this.
Certain words.
Yeah, you can't be doing this. I'm in the NBA. I'm a grown man. I ain't in the 5th grade anymore, Mama. I agree with you, Chris, because I thought the announcer was out of bounds. His job is to provide commentary. That's it. Provide commentary what's going on. Skip, maybe he didn't think LeBron could hear him. Because a lot of times, I guess, if you at the stadium and Marv Albert is commentating the game, you can't hear what he's actually saying.
But he's the PA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you over there to calm. He can hear everything that you saying, bro. So what do you think? Oh, man, he got that call because that's LeBron's son. So you didn't think LeBron being in this gym was going like, hold on, bro, wait a minute. That was unnecessary. Because at first, guess what? He stood up and he's like, bro, that was, I don't know what he said, but it was like, bro, that's unnecessary. You ain't have to say that. I understand that's my son. He understands what he is, but he got that call because the official thought he got fouled. And the PA said what he said. You said LeBron James Jr. got a call because he's LeBron James Sr.'s son. Well, you said what you said out loud because that was LeBron James. You wouldn't have said that about any other kid.
No.
Right.
So it goes both ways, and I agree. LeBron, LeBron's going to show up. So if LeBron is off, and his son is playing somewhere, guess what? LeBron's going to be there.
Yep.
And he's going to be out. Like Chris said, it's a scene anytime. Skip, where can Michael Jordan go? It is not a scene. Nowhere. That's why he always has security. LeBron can't go anywhere. He's always going to have security. Tiger Woods can't go anywhere. Well, he's stationary now, but when he could walk and get around, that's the way it is, Skip.
Yep.
But the PA now said it was unnecessary for you to take this, for you to say this about a kid.
Okay. So context is this was an exhibition AAU game.
Right.
Featuring a team called Strive for Greatness. LeBron's motto, slogan, right?
So it's an exhibition. It didn't even count.
No.
And you talking about this here.
And it's back in LeBron's stomping grounds. St. Vincent, St. Mary, the gym that he put on the international map because he made it famous because it was his launching pad, right?
So the PA announcer probably from that area.
Okay. I assume so, but the PA announcer, I'm also assuming, was trying to go Rucker Park and add a little flavor to the game with a little commentary along the way, and he stepped in it. He stepped right out of bounds because he made a crack, which he hoped would be a funny crack about, I don't know exactly how he said it because I couldn't hear it, but, Bronny got a call because his dad's in the house, right? And it's not funny because dad is in the house. He's literally a few feet away from you. And there was a policeman sitting between you and dad. But dad told the policeman, excuse me, I'm going to walk past you and I'm going to go to the scores table. Just me, I wish that LeBron had saved it until after the game. But to Chris's point, he just wanted to squash it on the spot. It did upstage the game because he had to actually stop the game for a few seconds. He didn't dwell. He just went and he told him he gave him a big piece of his mind right there. And then that was that. And I'm sure the guy was mortified, whoever the guy was, because you're right. He'd be a local guy who I assume loved LeBron James.
Probably a good chance he ain't on the PA
it's
anymore.
Good, very good
Chris,
chance.
I don't know if he's going to be on the PA anymore. I don't know if he's going to be calling games anymore.
Okay. So I've said this many times. I wish LeBron had been my dad. I wish LeVar had been my dad because I didn't have any of the above. I only had an occasional abusive dad who would never even have thought of coming to any of my football, basketball, or baseball games. So now we're back to this whole idea of parenting is your call. That's your, you choose. You do it your way.
I don't tell anybody how to parent the kids.
But I just hope Bronny's going to be okay with all of the above because LeBron got out there at halftime, is on the floor doing technique and demonstrating moves to Bronny. Boy, it's hard, man. It's just, you want to talk about a spotlight. And a lot of dads, and you said that you would be one, you would just sit up in the rafters.
Yeah.
You know, you might sit up with your wife, you know, with Savannah up in the rafters in the top row in the corner, just so you're there in support, but you're not, let him have the stage.
Yeah.
Well, LeBron's not built that way.
Right.
He has to be in the spotlight, so he's going to sit courtside, and he's going to sit right by Strive for Greatness's bench so he can talk to Bronny occasionally in timeouts. He is the unofficial head coach of the team, right?
Go ahead, Chris.
No, and that's where I think the Gloria in LeBron comes out because, you know, she was, as you said, very active at all his games, and he's doing that too. I just think that's who LeBron is. He's kind of a gregarious guy like that. We know that. What I like about it, and I get where you guys are coming from, because it is tough. I mean, even though everything seems positive, obviously, Bronny, at times, you just got to stand on your own. And you want to stand on your own and be your own man. But what I like that LeBron does that I think can soften it is he does that, it seems like, with all the players on the team. You know, we've seen video of him, you know, giving high fives to all the players, you know, talking to them about this and that, joking with them. We've heard players talk about how he's like a big brother or a dad to a lot of the other guys on the team. So I think that makes it easier for Bronny. But yeah, at some point you always want to just say, look, I can stand on my own 2 feet. You know, I got this, dad. And so I understand where you guys are coming from on that.
But even LeBron said he didn't understand his mom being so active and being so outspoken and cursing the officials out and saying all this until he became a parent. And then he became the very thing that he couldn't understand about his mom. Now you get why she was so animated and why she was so taken aback. But it's tough. It's not easy. But I think the thing is, Skip, is that LeBron has been going to all of his games that he could. Yep. And so he's kind of been there, so he's kind of gotten used. And he can hear his dad. Of all the voices in that gym, Skip, it could have been 10,000 people. I can hear my brother's voice. I can distinguish his voice out of all of them. So no matter what's going on, LeBron Jr. is going to be able to hear dads talking. Yep. And like I said, I just did the PA announcer, that was unnecessary. Just talked about what's going on in the game. Now, if you want to go ruck apart, just, hey, go at him, Bronny. Get him. Get at him, Bronny.
Sure.
Make it like an and-one tour.
So, final point go ahead, Chris. Yep.
I was just going to say quickly, I thought, as you said, maybe do it after the game. Maybe even send one of your bodyguards over there, right, to just say something to the guy. But I like it now that he did it the way he did, because that sends a message wherever he's playing. Yeah. You know, this one obviously went viral, and people all over the country know, look, leave LeBron out of it. Just keep it to Bronny and call the game and don't bring LeBron into it. They wouldn't have got that message had he just confronted the guy quietly after the game.
Final point, I'd forgotten how old Bronny has gotten all of a sudden, because it seems like he is forever 14. But I checked this morning, on October 6th, upcoming October 6th, he's turning 17. So he's 16, almost going on 17. So we're getting there quickly. So he's going to reach a point where it's time for him to become his own man.
Well, if he'd sent his bodyguard over there, what would they have said? He tried to intimidate him. LeBron sent his bodyguard trying to intimidate the PA. Now, I said, nah, I'm going to step to you.
Yeah, I can't believe he's going to be 17, Skip. I mean, that's a really good point. We're going to continue to watch him as he grows up, and only more spotlight is coming Bronny's way.
No mercy.
Tonight on FS1, the biggest soccer tournament of the year has reached the semifinals as Thiago Silva leads Brazil against Peru. The action kicks off tonight at 6:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Despite losing over the weekend, Trae Young showed up big for his first career playoff appearance. He helped get the Hawks to Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and along the way, he racked up countless highlights. Still, he said that it was, quote, frustrating to go out playing injured on Saturday night, and yeah, I can't blame him. Chris, please give Trae a letter grade for his playoff run.
Let's see, Jen. First ever postseason. He's 22 years old. He didn't even make an all-star team.
What?
He doesn't have any teammates who have made an all-star team, and probably they never will make an all-star team. And he goes out and averages 29 points, 9.5 assists, in leading his team in two upsets. One of them at the most famous arena in the world, where more than 15,000 fans are chanting derisively at you. All right. And then the second one against the top seed in the conference with the best big man in the league. And you pull off those two upsets. Then in your first Eastern Conference final game, you go for 48 points and 11 assists. I'm going to give him an A. I don't see how you can go any lower than an A. Now, I could give him an A+, but I won't. I'll give him room for growth. Let's get to the finals before we give you an A+. You'd only shot 42% overall, 31% from three. But shooting percentages to me aren't as important in the playoffs if you win. What's important is the numbers you put up and that they're contributing to winning. So I don't hold that against him very much. But I'm sure Skip will bring up something. But for me, the dude is a straight A student from these playoffs.
Yeah, he in Atlanta, so it should start with what you start Atlanta with. A, big A2. 29-9. You heard Skip. You heard Chris mention it.
I did.
Nobody, Skip, we didn't look. The guy led the nation in scoring and assists in college. So we knew he could score the basketball. And I said that's one of the things that he's going to be able to bring, because I thought he could pass the ball as good as he could score it. Now, we've seen guys lead the nation in scoring and rebounding. LaSalle Thompson, Xavier McDaniel. But we had never seen someone lead the nation in scoring and assists.
Then he lost to Rhode Island in the first round.
It happens. It happens. It happens. But ain't nobody from Rhode Island in the NBA. Last I checked.
Well, that's the problem.
Unless you talk about Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom did go to Rhode Island, if I'm not mistaken, Skip. But I'm going to give him, for the very reason that Chris said. You think about what they were yelling at him. Skip, the man first playoff. And they already talking about Trae Young.
They were.
They spitting at him. They throwing things at him. And he put them away in 5. And then he goes and Joel Embiid. Yo, guy, you love Joel Embiid. Spot him. Say, you know what, Joel, I'm going to let you get a 26-point lead and walk you down.
I love Joel when he's healthy.
Hey,
and he's never healthy.
What did you, Skip Bayless, tell me? If you out there, you healthy, right? Okay, he healthy. A+.
You know what? I got to get me some of the carpet that Shannon has over there and Chris has wherever he is. Because that carpet is big and plush and deep, and you can just sweep anything you want underneath that carpet, and it won't show at all. You can't see it. You can sweep any gory details under the carpet. So I'm going to be the only objective voice on this little panel here this morning on July the 5th, and I'm going to go B- because I do love this little man's spunk and his spark and his spirit. I love everything about his energy and his charisma, and I love his little floaters, and I love his lob passes to Capella, but I don't love how many shots he misses, because it is abominable. It is hard to watch after a while, and if you look at the numbers, Chris just swept it right under his carpet. He did shoot 31%. 31% from three? Yeah. That's 45 of 144. That means that he missed 99 three-pointers in just 16 playoff games. It's just wrong. It's hard to overcome it. He did with his spirit and his fight and everything about him. And I love all those things. Everything you said was correct, except you omitted the fact that he missed 99 three-point shots, which was second only to Pandemic P, who missed 101 three-point shots. But guess what? Paul George played 3 fewer games than Trae. And look at the overall misses. They were tied for most misses through the playoffs.
Trae played 3 fewer games than Pandemic P.
Trae played 3 fewer games. But they tied in total missed shots at 209. But again, Paul George played 776 minutes to Trae's 603. So he's just missing like crazy. He's missing at a rate nobody in the playoffs was missing at. And it's hard for your team after a while to overcome it. And then we get all the way to the game 6 at home, and he did suck it up toughed it out, and he said, I'm going to go play. But Shannon Sharpe says, if you're out there, you have no excuse. You get no pass.
Right.
He shot 4 of 17 and 0 of 6 from 3. It's just, you can't do it.
Did he beat Joel Embiid in the number 1 seed? Did that happen?
When Joel Embiid was limping up and down the floor, he beat him.
I ain't see no limp.
Yep.
I ain't see no limp.
Yep.
I saw no limp.
He's got torn cartilage in his knee and sucked it up.
He got a
and played
torn
with
butt.
it.
That's what he got, because Trae Young tore his tail up.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. The missed shots give him a B-. I'll give you all the things that you gave.
Hey.
Yeah, way to go.
What about the Knicks?
Yeah.
You had the Knicks beating them.
I did not have the Knicks beating them. I did not.
A lot of his look, he is a volume shooter, and I think if they can add better players, I think he won't shoot as much and his percentage will go up. I think Nate McMillan will work on that with him. But some of that is because he doesn't have anybody else on that team that can really create their own stuff. And so, Bogdanovich, Gallinari, Collins, they can shoot, they can score, but usually they need somebody to create it for them.
Right.
So he's doing that. Remember, Allen Iverson's percentages were always low, in part because he didn't have other guys that could go do their own thing with him. Now, even when he did, he shot low percentage because he was such a volume shooter. But my point is that when you don't have another guy, he doesn't have a Devin Booker there or a Chris Paul there or a Chris Middleton there, guys that can go create their own stuff so his percentages could go up because the defense pays attention to those guys and not just Trae Young.
And I think also, Chris, is that because he's so small, in order for them to respect the three, he's got to take threes to make them hug up on him. So now he can use his speed to get by you and hit that floater or to throw the lob or to get the ball off the backboard. Well, if I'm not shooting threes and everybody just going to lag back off me, well, how can I get to the paint?
Okay, but don't call him Trae as in T-R-E-Y Young, right? Because he doesn't shoot threes at it. Like
Ice Trae.
Yeah. T-R-E-Y or T-R-A-E.
Shimmy. Did you not see that man shimmy on the bump?
Yeah, and he's great for the big highlight shows. He is theater. But then he just goes cold. He goes cold.
He was hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. You gonna use to my Joel Embiid was limping up and down the court, but this man he missed 2 games with a bone bruise in his foot. But you don't want to give him credit for that. You don't want to say, okay, he sucked it up, went out there and played.
Well, I said he did, but did that stop you from making a few more shots than 4 of 17?
Well, it didn't stop Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid wasn't hurt when he had a 26-point lead. He only got hurt, Chris, when he lost the lead. You notice that? Joel Embiid had an 18-point lead. Ain't nobody mentioned about Joel Embiid.
This isn't about Joel Embiid. It's about Trae Young.
It's about my guy getting the 8.
Trae Young being compared to Steph Curry, and I'm like,
ain't nobody compared him to Steph Curry. You tried to compare Joel Embiid to Shaq.
No, I didn't. I didn't say he was better than Shaq.
My guy
He's better than that guy in Denver, for sure.
No, he ain't good, no.
Go ahead.
Skip, you always say the reason you hold LeBron to such a high standard is because you're comparing him to Michael Jordan.
No, because this guy compares him to Michael Jordan.
Expectations are a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But expectations are a big part of it. There were no expectations on Trae Young. None whatsoever coming into these playoffs. So he blasted his expectations through the roof. I give him points for that because we didn't expect it. If Steph goes out and does what Trae does, then we judge him more harshly.
Yeah.
But nobody expected this from Trae Young.
Did you expect Trae Young to be this good? Right now, what you see right now, did you expect him to be that when he came out of college?
No, I'll give you that.
All right.
But sometimes he's pandemic Trae.
Ain't nobody know. No, ain't nobody that.
On that note, he's just getting started. Chris, thank you so much for joining us all day. Have a great rest of your day as well.
No mercy.
And the Angels, Shohei Ohtani, just made history, becoming the first ever All-Star to be selected as a pitcher and a position player. Ohtani has a 3.6 ERA and 83 strikeouts in 12 starts, but also leads the majors with 31 home runs. The impressive two-way player will also participate in the Home Run Derby in addition to the All-Star game next Tuesday on Fox. So, Shannon, has there ever been a comparable two-way achievement in the NFL or NBA?
Probably the greatest comparison would probably be Chuck McNarick, Skip, he was the last full-time two-way player. Roy Green, I know you remember Roy Green.
Do I?
Roy Green was a heck of a receiver and a heck of a quarterback, and he transferred over and became a full-time receiver. But not to this level, Skip. Not to this. I mean, for a guy to be able, this is Ruthian. That's the only thing you can compare it to, because Ruth was the only guy that could hit for power and was a great pitcher. So that's the only comparable.
No all-star teams at that point.
There were no all-star teams.
Yeah.
So, no, football, no. Could Deion have, if they'd let him play full-time offense, could he have made it both? I believe he could. He probably would have been the only guy.
But the point is, could he have been a Pro Bowl receiver? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I saw him, in one Super Bowl against Pittsburgh, catch some
When
balls.
Mike got hurt, he played a little bit, Skip.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. The greatest two-way player outside this one, Showtime Ohtani, to me was Michael Jordan, because 9 times he made first-team all-defense while he was winning the scoring title.
Right.
Well, that makes him case closed, the greatest two-way player ever, right?
Yeah.
He won 10 scoring titles, but 9 times first team all defense. So isn't that two-way? But is it as different as pitching and hitting? Probably not.
Yeah, for him to be able to pitch like he does, Skip, and to hit the ball, Matt Suhey had the most homers for an Asian-born player. This kid got that at the halfway point.
No, it's unbelievable.
You can't take your eyes off him.
Like
He's playing with such a joy for the game, too. I can't keep track of the home runs. It's making it look easy, and we know that game is not easy. Great stuff today, guys. We're back at the same time tomorrow morning. The Herd is on now. Have a great rest of your day.